Welcome to Family Gamer TV. We're looking at Severed, a new game coming up exclusive for the PlayStation Vita, and I've got Chris McQuinn on the line, a designer on Severed from Drinkbox Studios. So Chris, this is getting quite exciting. It's coming out quite soon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're excited about getting this out because, we're kind of tired of working on it.
So you're in that sort of crunch mode. So if people haven't come across Severed before, maybe you could to introduce the sort of the top line pitch, the elevator pitch for it.
Yeah, for sure. So Severed's a really cool game. It's a first-person dungeon crawler where you take on the character of Sasha. She's a warrior, and the game is made up of a lot of combat and exploration, where the combat is very touch-based.
And we can see that here, and as well as having an unusual interface, also it's got a very distinct visual style.
Yeah, so some people say the style is similar to our old game, Guacamole, but I would say the style itself is very dreamlike, and it's very bright and colorful, but in a sort of creepy sense. It's pretty cool. You have to check it out.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old dungeon crawlers, like Dungeon Master.
Oh yeah.
Eye of the Beholder. Is that sort of an aesthetic you were aiming at?
Well, I mean, the thing is, we're a small team, right? So our art aesthetic is often influenced by the few artists we have, right? It seems that artists kind of have a style that they like, and so I think it's why you see this bleed over between our games.
Nice. And so in the game, you're exploring these dungeons. How does it develop from there?
Yeah, so essentially the game starts and you're not exactly sure where you are or what's going on, and then we reveal bits of information. The first place you'll see is your house, but it doesn't look exactly like your house as how you remember it. So you're in this dream world, but are you in this dream world? You're not sure. And so as you start to explore throughout the world, we'll introduce you to characters, and we'll introduce you to your abilities, and you'll sort of start to piece together what's going on.
So alongside that dungeon crawling, it seems like there's a quite strong RPG element. We've got some footage here of various upgrades. How does that work?
So throughout the game, you'll see enemies, and as you fight enemies, you'll chop them up. So the game's called Severed, so as you can imagine,
there's
you'll
a hint there.
Yeah, there's really a hint of what you'll be doing. And so you sever up monsters, and you can use their body pieces as a currency to upgrade various skill trees that you'll have throughout the game.
And so you encounter a boss, do you? And then once you've defeated them, is there something specific to that boss that you then take away?
Yeah, so in addition to just collecting random pieces like wings and eyeballs, every time you see a boss in the game and you fight them, during that battle, the boss will have this really cool, super powerful ability that they'll use against you. And once you defeat the boss, you get to wear a piece of them. And by wearing that piece of them, you'll also gain the ability they had just used against you, so it's kind of nice.
That is nice. So in that battling, you're using the touch screen from the looks of it. Does that mean it's quite simple in terms of the fighting, or is there sort of mechanics to learn?
Yeah, I think a really important thing for people to know is that the combat is really interesting in the regards that what we wanted to try to do, which we haven't really seen much before, is the way you touch on screen and the direction that you slash on screen and the timing of where you slash on screen is very important in the combat. So it's as if you actually had a sword in your hands and you had to turn your sword a certain way to parry an incoming attack, and then you have to counterattack in a certain direction. So we wanted to translate that to the touchscreen. So I think that's what makes this game pretty unique.
Yeah, nice. And so are there, in encountering these bosses and defeating them, are there particular ones that sort of stood out, your favourites, or maybe some special abilities that you think players are going to really enjoy getting?
Yeah, I think so. There's a bunch in the game, and we all have our personal favorites. And I would say mine is probably there's an enemy a boss we call Buff Eater, and during the fight you have to fight his minions, and his minions gain these special abilities and these buffs so they become stronger, and it's really annoying during the fight, right? And the boss will take the buffs and become stronger. So during the entire fight you're saying to yourself, oh man, this is totally unfair, how does he get these super strong buffs? And then eventually when you defeat Buff Eater, you'll gain the ability to suck buffs and special abilities from enemies later on in the game, so it feels really good, and it's actually one of my favorite ones right there.
Yeah, nice. And is there, so as you develop your character, do you have sort of tangible choices about how you develop and evolve, or is there sort of one route to upgrading? Is that, how is the RPG side of that? How strong is it?
Yeah, it's so I think from the RPG style of it, when it comes to upgrading your character, we want people to have some sort of autonomy to how they want to upgrade. So, for example, me personally, I like doing a lot of damage, so I'm going to try to take all the attack oriented upgrades. But if someone wants to be more defensive or have lifesteal, they can sort of go a different route in the tech tree. So you definitely have choices that reflect how you might want to play the game.
Yeah, nice. And so, I mean, there's a degree of violence here. It's all cartoon. How's that going to impact on sort of ratings? What you're expecting for it?
Well, you don't fight any humans, and all you're doing is fighting monsters that look like monsters. So I think the rating should be on the lower side. We haven't had our ratings in yet from Peggy, but we're expecting it to be pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm. And in the game, it feels like the sort of the territory it covers alongside the gameplay. There's some potentially sort of weighty topics. You mentioned about bringing the corpse of your sibling with you.
Yeah.
How is that handled? Is it just a lightweight throwaway thing, or is there more substance to it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's done very tastefully, and I think a part of the overarching story of Severed is looking for your family, and there's some deeper meanings there, and you'll be reunited with your family members. And like you said, yeah, you'll be carrying the corpse of your brother and potentially other people, who knows. But it's done in a very, I would say, nice way. It's not gruesome, it's just very sweet, I suppose. So yeah, we do deal with some topics, but I feel they're kind of nice, important topics, family, searching, love, stuff like that.
It reminds me a little bit of the PlayStation game Chariot that you would. Have you seen that? You cart around a king, the dead king.
Yeah, it's right. The corpse of your father, I think.
Yeah. So, but in a similar way, that's done in quite a light touch way too.
Yeah, true, for sure. Ours might be a bit deeper, a bit more sad, but yeah, kind of along the same lines. That's a good point.
Yeah, and so I mean, one of the things that stands out for Severed is that it's coming, initially at least, as a PlayStation Vita exclusive. Mm-hmm. Which, from a business perspective, it must be a tricky decision about where you're going to launch. What was it that led you to the Vita?
Yeah, I think for us, we've had such a good relationship with the Vita community. Our past games have really been just warmly embraced from the Vita community, and people who own Vitas seem to really be into video games. They like to buy games, they like to try new experiences, maybe games that aren't so standard, like Severed, for example. Mm-hmm. So I think for us it was just kind of a natural community to go back to with this idea. And
does that mean with Guacamole, you think that came to other platforms too? Is that something you're talking about yet?
Yeah, I think for us it's just a matter of, does it make sense, right? At least from the business point of view. So I think we'll see what the reception's like with the Vita, and we'll see what the reception is like for Severed being on the Vita, and if it does really well, then maybe it makes sense later on to go somewhere else. But for the moment, our focus is really just making the best game for the Vita. Yeah,
nice. And you're sort of mentioning there the Vita community. Are there particular sites or forums online that have been supported to your previous games that you'd like to call out? I mean, I'd be interested to discover some of those for myself.
Well, the PS Vita magazine. There's a digital one online. Mm-hmm. They've been really great for us. So the Vita Lounge, they're very supportive. They have a great community over there, and basically, there's other various forums on the internet too, which are really great. So there's pockets of Vita fans, and they're pretty rabid, and we love them.
Yeah, that's what you want, isn't it? You want some active, interested players rather than...
Oh yeah, for sure.
You don't want a casual sort of community.
No, not necessarily. Not for this game. This is a pretty gamey game.
Yeah. And so, as we're sort of wrapping up here, are there particular things in Severed that maybe people haven't heard of yet, or stuff you want to be like, hey, this, if you've not convinced yet, there's this particular aspect that might convince you?
I think people would, I think some of the aspects that stand out is just that the world is so beautiful and cool, and there's a couple of parts in the game where you'll unexpectedly just be looking over a horizon or from a bridge, and the views sort of will take your breath away, and I think that itself, just watching and wandering and exploring the world of Severed, I think for me that alone is enough to sell the game.
Nice. Now, hearing about that makes me wonder about the Vita TV. It's got various names. I'm not quite sure what to call it.
Oh, right.
Is it? Is that supported? How does that work?
I think we'll see.
They're not confirmed yet.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the game's very focused. It uses a lot of touch, so it might not make sense to transition over, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. Well, thanks for your time. Have you got a date and a price for Severed?
Not an exact date. We're aiming for March this year. And price, also not sure, but I would expect it to be the price of a small independent game that you would expect.
Yes, which is which people can go and research themselves.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I can't wait to play some of it, get hands on it. I know you've been out at some shows, but somehow I've not actually had the time to stop and play. So I'll be looking forward to getting it in the home.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time. Very much look forward to seeing it. Thanks a lot, Chris.
No, thanks for talking.